And I was drawing analogies to 1936, as well as a book called It Can't Happen Here, which is about the rise of a potential fascist state in the United States in 1936. My sister-in-law had been reading it every election, as she puts it, since 1988. And I read it once before long ago, and I'm like, oh, this sort of thing's never going to happen in this country. Don't even bother. And so I read it this year anyway, and obviously it's very different. And for those who think, oh, there's a big anti-Trump rant, the main character or not the main character, but the person who gets elected on the Democratic Party ticket. But it's someone who's more of an opportunist than anything else, and has very much an authoritarian character. The other thing I pointed out to everybody is I wrote it long before Election Day. And the point that I tried to make in the TV interview and both talks is, I think not every single politician, obviously, a lot of local officials, earn very little for what they do, and they're just trying to, they're more civic-minded. But the higher up you go, and it may not be something intentional, maybe something unintentional, but I think all politicians have within them the characteristic to be an authoritarian. Pretty much, you see the evidence yourself pretty closely. Most of the masses don't see this sort of same thing. You're convinced that your way is right. You're convinced that things would be a lot easier if your way was adopted. And it's up to every American, no matter who's elected, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, Gary Johnson, whatever, to make sure that the leaders are held in check so that they don't get everything that they want. Because the difference between an authoritarian leader and a fascist state is what we allow as people. That was the point I was trying to make yesterday. So, because, at times you may even find yourself apologizing for a leader, or trying to explain away what a leader's trying to do, or looking past their flaws, or putting them up on a pedestal. And as Wes can say, because I've been to these events, I fall into the same trap just as much as anybody else. But it's important to realize that such authoritarianism can come in many forms. If you ever take me for Introduction to Political Science, which many of you are probably seniors, so you probably won't get to. I teach in the fall. I've also shown this to my church group. It's a good movie. I think our library has it, and I recommend you jot it down on the must-see films. And it's called, The Last King of Scotland. And you've got a guy from Scotland. He's a doctor. He comes to Africa. He wants to help a lot of people. But what you get to realize is very difficult. Lots of people die. The living conditions aren't great. Long hours, very tough. And he sort of helps a guy who's a military leader of Uganda named Idi Amin. And Idi Amin makes him his personal physician. And the Scottish doctor gets to realize it really is the good life when you're connected to the dictator of a country. He gets anything and everything he wants. And he very much turns a blind eye to atrocities occurring in the country, failings of Idi Amin, who's super charming, very funny, very personable. Everybody in the audience, even if you know who he really is, you're like, what a great guy. And if Forrest Whitaker, I know he was at least nominated for a Academy Award for Best Actor. If he didn't win it, he probably should have. And he plays Idi Amin to a hilt. He's a funny guy, charming. You're like, what a cool person to hang around. And you get to realize about 2/3 of the way through the movie that he's a monster. He really is. He's a terrible person, and a terrible person to cross. This physician gets to realize that's why they call it trappings, folks. When they talk about all the benefits of being next to an authoritarian state, that's why they call it trappings, because he realizes he's trapped. He's got to do whatever Idi Amin wants. And when he realizes it's a monster, he can't just take off and go somewhere else. He even suggests fly back and see his parents so he can get out of the country. No, that's not going to happen. And even lets him know he's pretty much like his trained lapdog. And he's going to stay there. In some ways, he knows too much or so. And there's a human rights group has promised to give him a fake passport and help him out, sneak out of the country. But he's got to steal a lot of dirt on Idi Amin, which is, of course, highly dangerous. Based on a true story, by the way. And it gets you to realize that we can become blind to politicians in many different ways. And our Constitution, by the way, one of the benefits of our Constitution, I know all this stuff people ignore, separation of powers, checks and balances, federalism, the stuff people go, ah, whatever. I dealt with that in 5th grade, never want to see it again. The fact that we set up our government to make sure no one person had all that power is pretty much what saves us from this. And the moment we forget about it, the moment we care less about it, the moment somebody is able to dominate all 3 branches. Well, let me quote Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan said, and I remember this because when I grew up, he was like the dominant president at the time. He said, freedom's just 1 generation away from dying out. All it takes is 1 generation of people getting used to an authoritarian state before all freedom goes away. So, yeah, the guy I have 2 buttons of on my back. I see a lot of people with Reagan, Bush, 84 or something, shirts and hats and stuff like that. That'd be a good one to remember, no matter who's in office. You know, just seriously, agree with presidents where you can. You know, anytime you can sense that something's wrong, no matter what your ideology is, even if it's the same party, stand up, or else Reagan will be right. And not just privacy. Okay. Make sure. Got a small crowd today. Maybe that's smaller than it needs to. Remember, even if you've got some excursion that takes you away, you got a road trip or something else like that. I mean, I contacted the professors from the classes where students had to go. Just, you know, make sure that you let me know where you got to be. Like I think Alex somewhere right now. I was hoping for a fair number of people because, as promised, going to hear your minimum wage horror stories. So who's got one? Minimum wage story. Maybe not a horror story, but go ahead, lead us off, Megan.
Well, I don't have like a terrible story that promotes to me, but
Toughest story.
I did look online about like some terrible stories, and I found this one story of this lady who works.
Worse than hers.
I mean maybe because then she throws 4 kids in the mix. So
Oh, okay, go ahead.
it's a little bad. This lady, she works at McDonald's, and she gets paid minimum wage. She has 4 kids. She doesn't have even like a high school. She didn't graduate high school. She's lived in either like a friend's house or a shelter the whole time. She has a place of her own now with her kids, but her rent is $650 a month, and on average she gets paid $600.
So it's like that. It's like the game spent, in other words.
Yes, and she doesn't have health insurance for herself. Her kids are on like the state's health insurance, so it's free for them, but she doesn't have anything. And it just...
Does she go to the healthcare doctor? Wait, it's not someone you know, right?
No, I found it on Forbes.com.
Oh, okay.
It's like the health... Maybe
Okay,
it
one thing about
was the
affordable-
Huffington Post that did an interview with her. And it just... And she's like, some weeks they only give me 18 hours to work, and then other weeks...
Because if you make a certain minimum amount, you get covered.
Yeah, I don't know, but it didn't. She said that she didn't have it, but her kids did.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else a horror story? Do I have to open it up to people you know? Okay, go ahead, Jake.
Okay, well, this actually happened recently, and by recently I mean 4 days ago. But so you know how the range is kind of like a diverse group when it comes with Asians who are here. There's also like a little Indian community.
There.
So they came in and like everything was fine. I was at Starbucks and I was the one making drinks and everything turned out fine. But this one woman came up to me and just, not even apologizing, she just immediately starts screaming at me. She ordered this white mocha and she's like, I hate this, it tastes like water, you suck. I want you to remake it. And like white mocha, and I hate making drinks there, but it's like the sweetest drink.
Mhm.
And it's impossible for it to taste like water because you put water with soda or even goes on it. So I just joked with her and I'm just like, well, it's syrup and milk and espresso, so no water in there. And then she's like, are you making fun of me? And then she gets on the phone with corporate right in front of me and she's screaming at me and she's like, what's your name? So I tell her, and what she tells corporate is this person, this white patriarchy person has made my drink wrong on purpose because I am a minority, and that he's gloating in front of me about how Trump won the election. I'm just like, what is going on? But the thing is corporate actually
Oh, you radical conservative.
yeah, the corporate, like, they asked her to give the phone to me, and they're just like, how could you do this? And I ended up getting, like, suspended for the rest of the day for them to investigate it. They ended up sending her, like, a $500 gift card. And I'm just like, are you kidding? No, I'm not.
Was it like Native American names or like?
No, it was like Indian, but
All right. My son's best friend is Indian, and she's a surgeon at Georgia Tech grad and stuff. She'd have reamed that person out up and down. She and her family are about as conservative and Republican as you'll find in this city, too. Yeah, actually. There are a number of Indian kids that go to the same school as my son, and he's friends with all of them or something like that. And I'm sure they would be abhorred by that. I'm sorry to that. Okay. Man, I think you may have. That one may actually be worse than mine. Go ahead, Bruno. You got one from Germany?
Yeah, I have one.
Oh, an international comparative.
I don't know if I'm going to get the point across with that because I've been having trouble speaking English the last time, but this is a magazine.
Oh, stop. You're perfect. Go
This
ahead.
is a magazine in Munich, and it's called BIS. It's Bürger in sozialen Schwierigkeiten, means like citizens that have social troubles. And it's, you can see people, like homeless people selling it on the streets, basically. So we had, in high school, we had a guy come in who explained it to us. He said it's people that like, lost everything, and they get basically a chance to rebound by selling this magazine.
Okay.
And
It's kind of like a Horatio Alger story.
Yeah.
He usually has a newspaper boy who's selling stuff, and sometimes Horatio Alger novels.
I've never bought it, but I heard that it's like the stories of the people that actually end up selling this magazine. So it's kind of like that. And it's that's I think they make by selling it they make I don't know just a little bit. But sometimes it's enough to afford the shelter or whatever. But they have to be clean. They have to be you have to have certain prerequisites to be able to sell things. But I thought it was it's really cool that they get this opportunity.
That is kind of neat. Tony, you got one?
Yeah, I didn't follow directions. I ended up writing a full-blown 549-word
Good
story.
Lord.
So I'm going to sum it up. My parents.
Yeah, you can use that on the final exam. Do you want to do this? I actually have something for my classes, my political science classes, the upper division. They come in, they take the multiple choice, but what they do is they get to type. You get your choice of essay. I give you out the essays, and you get a chance to type them up or something. And I don't know. You know, I'll see how y'all vote. You can caucus amongst yourselves to see how it is. I'm always impressed that the political science people vote for this. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to sum it up. My parents were very young, and my dad was recently divorced and had a child of his own, and my mom just graduated from here, from Grand College. And they were very poor, and they were living in a one-room apartment, and it had bullet holes in the wall, and it was just a mess. And my mom ended up pregnant with me, and they went up to Tennessee. They hitched a ride with some strangers, and my mom used the last $5 in her purse to buy a wedding dress. And they got married, and they ended up coming back, and they both worked 3 jobs each just to support me. And they couldn't afford a crib, so they went into a basement of a burned down building and found a milk crate. And luckily it didn't have too much soot or something on it, and they covered it in baby blankets, and that was my crib. And finally, they saved up enough money to buy a house because they had a growing family. They wanted to have a growing family. And they found a house, and I actually have a picture of the house that we lived in.
Oh, man.
That was it.
It's not a shotgun house then?
No. It had shotgun holes in the wall,
Oh, okay.
and rat feces and dead rats, and it was terrible. And I'll tell you this, shampoo, no matter what color it is, when it freezes, it turns white. We knew this because we moved in this house in December with no heating. So they had to bundle me up like the Michelin Man, and it was terrible. But luckily, my mom got a new job at working at Emory, and she poured herself through at graduate school, became a nurse practitioner. Now we're middle class. So.
Yeah, pass that. Everybody's got a story. You gotta grab a handful of M&Ms. So. You don't like M&Ms? What, do you have a problem with my M&Ms? Am I gonna have to call corporate? Oh, don't forget Megan's answer. Okay, or as I like to call them, WWs. Not that serious. Over in China, they sell WWs. I had a friend who was from University of Michigan, and he studied over China intellectual property theft. My favorite was M&M, or WWs.
Well, I don't think you want to.
Yeah.
You don't want
So,
to.
and the outside of the package says WWs, which of course doesn't make a lot of sense. And this is even before George W. Bush took office. Yeah. No. Nobody else wants. Nobody else wants that. Yeah, this is after I had after I got my undergraduate degree. I was at Marquette University, and I was in, so my first year of graduate school, I just finished it up. I went down to Tallahassee where my wife was living. She was my girlfriend. We weren't married just yet, and she was living with her sister, and so three of us were in an apartment. And what we did is we worked at a laundromat. Anybody ever been to a laundromat? Okay. And have you ever been to a laundromat where they wash people's clothes? Like that's an option where people drop off their clothes to be washed if they don't have time. And then, so some of our job was, my wife would usually check to make sure the machines were working and stuff like that. My job was to wash the clothes. And I got to realize something. It did not take long to realize that somebody who isn't going to wash their own clothes, it's not going to be like an average sample of clothing. It's going to be the really bad stuff. And since I had no sense of smell from a chemistry accident, some people turn to Spider-Man or get superpowers. I just lost my sense of smell from my chemistry accident. So usually, that's why I volunteered to be the one to wash the clothes, just because, they drop off something in a garbage bag all tied up or something like that, or you could tell it was a really old, like, oh, we forgot about these clothes from years ago. Oh, hell, let's just take over the laundromat. They'll clean it up. And so that was not a fun job. It was also, it was not much easier for my wife. I remember one day, you ever done this where you had a job? Who here's had a minimum wage job? Okay. Do you ever find yourself watching the clock? It's kind of like, you'll watch that more than an Alabama-Auburn game when it's ticking down to the final seconds. Come on. Your team's got a lead, or you're like, okay, you're ahead, you're like, come on. And I remember it was like 5 till 5, and we've been working all day. This is like on Saturday. Like, oh my gosh, please, from 7 a.m. till 5. When I say 7 a.m., what that really means is 6:30. You got to be there to open up, do the register and stuff like that. And there are a lot of old people who like to wash their clothes at 6:45, and they're all waiting in the parking lot. They're like, rev their motor at you angrily or flash their lights, like, how dare you wait till 6:30 to get to work on Saturday. This is after your regular day of work. And so there was one time we were just watching the seconds, like 5 minutes. Oh God, we're almost there. And this guy comes up to us. We're also exhausted, we're just like lying, barely able to move. And this guy comes up to us and goes, "You ever watch the Brady Bunch show?" Anybody seen the Brady Bunch show? Okay, on like TV land. Yeah. And he goes, "Remember that episode where Peter Brady tried to do the laundry and he tossed a whole box of detergent in instead of just getting a scoop or so?" Where's he going? Oh my gosh, 3 hours. Soap, that amount of soap. Somebody just did that. I guess they just didn't know what they were doing. That amount of soap, it has to be gone. And it's hard to get rid of that much soap, by the way, just let me know. So don't do it just for fun or to prank somebody or do it. It's too uncool. It's a practical joke. Yeah, 3 hours. That's not the worst. The worst was one time, my wife couldn't even touch the bag together. She goes, somebody just brought in a giant trash bag full of stuff. Can you take care of it? Yeah, sure, I'll do it. Yeah, it's tied off with a couple twisty tabs, and it's a giant bag. And even though I had no sense of smell, I could kind of sense it wasn't the greatest thing ever. Even no sense of smell, I could smell it. That's how bad it was. Just like blind people can see a nuclear explosion. You know, the flash of light, it's got to be super powerful. So I undid the twisty tabs, reached in and grabbed, and it was a whole bunch of sheets. And it smelled even more powerful, and I picked it up. Now, what had happened is I guess this family had just chucked it there and they'd forgotten about it and thought they'd bring it in. What I didn't know was that inside there was a whole big old nest of roaches. And I had pulled it on out like this, and that shocked them into action. Now, have you ever seen Indiana Jones at the Temple of Doom? It was just like that. They all decided to run for it. And rather than jump for it, they decided to run down the nearest thing they could. Like, I was just, like, roaches are just pouring out. It's like that movie, The Mummy, you know, or something like that. I'm just like, and I couldn't even move. I was just sort of, you know, who would expect that? You know, who expects suddenly a whole hive of roaches all over? And it was like weeks after I could kind of get that sensation of bug running all over me. It'd be like, oh my God. It was scattering all over the place, and people were running for it and stuff. That's a tough one for minimum wage. So, at any rate, for being good sports and showing up, take a small handful, pass it around if you like it. Or WWs. That's for trying to, although, I don't know, Tony and Jake, I think the whole class deserves that because I think you might have you there on. Laundry. And of course, you know, you're shopping by calculator, so we literally get our paycheck, and we had a direct deposit through USA, we get our account or so, and then we go over and shop. I remember one time, some guy left us a $20 tip. Like, I can still remember to this day getting a $20 tip, like, obviously for the two of us, and it was like, oh, like, think of what we could get for that $20 extra. I'm like salivating. I'd forgotten who was on the $20 bill, I think. It was one of the, you trying to pass it to them? What, you too good for Miami? So, what is the story behind Barbara Ehrenreich serving in Florida? What's she trying to do? How is she different from your minimum wage story and your folks' minimum wage story and the folks selling papers over in Germany? All these minimum wage stories that we're hearing, the one you're reading online about McDonald's workers.
She's not doing it out of necessity.
Not doing it out of necessity. What is Barbara Ehrenreich anyway? What does she do?
She's a journalist.
Is a journalist, and not just any journalist. Growing up, when I used to read Time magazine, yeah, I was like that Anthony Michael Hall kid from Breakfast Club. You ever seen that? You know, reading Time magazine. Get a fake ID so you can vote. Yeah, that's me. No flare gun to whatever I did in shop because we didn't have shop class. I probably would have sucked at it anyway. But yeah, she was like, I mean, she would write like the editorial that Time magazine had. It's like on the back page, sort of here's the most important thing you should read. So Barbara Ehrenreich isn't just any newspaper reporter. She's the newspaper reporter, Pulitzer Prize winner, and she won just about every journalistic award possible. So what's she doing? Well, is it really, is it a, that she's trying to hold to, or what's the overall goal?
She's going to write about working class life.
She's writing about working class life, okay, good, that's like the theory. Working to is part of it.
I mean, she wants to see if she can survive, how would she be living on minimum wage.
Okay, so she's playing the spent game before we had all this online stuff. Yeah, when she was doing this, I mean, you know, the internet was in its infancy. And you're right. So that's, and the mathematical proposition is therefore, yeah, talks about a mathematical proposition. What is the mathematical proposition? Barbara Ehrenmann's kind of, y'all kind of said it.
Basically, she can survive.
Yeah, can you get by? Do you have enough money? Do you have enough money to get on through? Succeed, fail? Fail. Do you have a symbol for fail? Like this was like losing. What's fail? Like when they say epic fail? Other than a meme, do you have like a signal for fail? There's no. I have to ask. I'm still like that Anthony Michael Hall character. Yeah. Why did she fail? Why did she fail? What? Oh, so it wasn't about the money. Did she run out of money? No. I ran out of money in 7 days and spent. Did she run out of money? 30 days? Yeah, didn't you have to do it 30 days? I think each chapter is a different job she tries to do, or a different way she tries to make ends meet. Okay.
It wasn't necessarily that she ran out of money, she just couldn't do it. She, like, physically and, like, emotionally and mentally, she couldn't do it.
Okay. Yeah, people don't do the reading. They all set on the test. They always say, "Oh, I ran out of money," or so, which would be incorrect. It's pretty much, yeah, she just couldn't take it anymore. Why couldn't she take it anymore? What was so bad about it? Megan, you said something about.
It was like the way that they were treated, and the way that, like, and also like the atmosphere that she was in was such a negative atmosphere no matter where she went. Like when she, had her housekeeping job, she worked with this lady who was like, "We're getting paid by the hour, so might as well clean all day long and try and do it by a deadline." Or when she worked at.
So in other words, you couldn't do the job really fast and then take a nap in the afternoon
Yeah.
before you have to go on second shift.
Yeah, and then when she worked in the restaurant, like, yeah, how nasty the kitchen was, and like how poorly they treated the dishwashers and stuff like that.
Anybody ever done food service? I've had some students. Okay. Is that kind of similar? You're like, no, it wasn't like that at all. It varies by restaurant, or varies by day, or varies by what? Good days, bad days?
I think a kitchen job is just stereotypically like a bunch of guys who are just moving around.
I didn't even get paid for my food service work because it was a class I took in high school. It was culinary arts, and we hosted restaurants for the teachers and stuff. And the teachers were so rude to us. Like, let's say like they wanted sweet tea and I accidentally brought unsweet tea, and they would like.
Well, you brought northern tea instead of southern tea.
Yeah. And they would get so freaking mad. I'm like, really, dude? I have to see you in an hour. You want to leave it like this?
You're like, you're gonna take me out like this. Yeah, I created that term because I'm not originally from the South. I didn't understand how Southern tea worked until I was working soup kitchen, and the lady in charge was telling me, she's like, get some sugar in it, and I put what I thought was an obscene amount of sugar or so into that, and they're like, no, and I'm like, why? Don't I add it afterwards? No, you got to add it in. So like boiling it on in, so there aren't like any crystals floating around, and I like drink it, I'm like. Wow! I mean, I normally don't have that much sugar in something.
Life has changed after that, though.
Yeah.
How did it change?
I mean, I think that, in fact, there was a special about Southern tea and how it's made and some of its properties. I would think of it as like a Class D drug. I mean, with more than a certain number of ounces, you probably could be prosecuted.
My inmate's a gallon of tea with a whole bag of sugar.
I mean, people get upset about, like there's a big move for like a soda tax or a soft drink tax or something like that because of some of the harmful effects some of these sugary drinks have. And I'm like, don't come down to have any Southern tea. Yeah. My brother-in-law was like raised in Perry, Florida. And when my sister-in-law got a job up in Illinois, he went up with her. And the same thing, he ordered tea and he took a drink. And it's Southern Illinois. Like, what's wrong? And he's like, oh, there's sugar on the table. And he goes, no, I wanted sweet tea. She goes, yeah, you add the sugar afterwards. And he started crying.
Yeah, all my friends in high school went on a trip to New York. I chose not to go. And they said one of the worst things was, like, you couldn't have sweet tea. They'd have to go to McDonald's Yeah, like a Mickey D's, sweet tea.
Oh, I didn't know McDonald's served Southern tea. So therefore I called it, after that I called it Southern tea and Northern tea. Yeah. So did she make enough that she only needed one job? Why is she working this maid job down at a hotel? Why is she doing cleaning stuff? Is it because she needed it, the extra money? Or could you make enough on one job?
Couldn't make enough on her one waitressing job, but I think she could offer the housekeeping job.
It would be like a steady,
Yeah.
like if she was getting paid a fixed amount every hour, instead of relying on tips.
Oh. So you have to like rely on, so in other words, kind of like a feast or famine. I remember a Minnesota governor offered it, he had to retract it because of public outcry, but he wanted to say that anyone who was like a waiter or waitress, like that they not be included all in minimum wage laws. That they're like, well, you just make all your money on tips, and you make lots of money on tips. Go ahead.
That's what I wrote on.
Did you write something too? Oh, good Lord. Okay, I'm going to have a take-home exam. I just meant like, when I said bring your story, I meant like sort of like bring it, not like bring it. Bring it.
But yeah, that's what I wrote about because like, I'm a waitress like over the summer and stuff, and I make like $2.15 an hour and plus tips, and so the government pays me to they expect the rest to be like off tips, and that should cover this.
Do you make a lot of tips?
I do some days, but some days are slower. Some people don't do. That's kind of what I wrote about. It's like this one family. It's like the rudest people on the planet that never tip me. And I don't. But they just never really tip. It frustrates me.
I just student Anna Stone was on the waitress, and we were talking about this section. She said a lot of times people look up at her and say, "Sorry, I didn't bring enough for tip." And she was pretty much saying, if you're going to go out to eat, bring something for tip. And what do people normally tip? What's going on?
My dad always says, like, he grew up with a bunch of sisters who waitressed, so like he always says, even if you have terrible service, like that's how they're making their living. So 15%, even if it's terrible, and then if it's really great, 20%.
I remember when I was in college, it was 15%. Now I think the conventional rate is 20% or so. And I think nowadays they also, like for a certain large group, it's automatic. The 20% is automatically included. They built it in. In Costa Rica, where I taught for 2 summers, they automatically build the tip into the bill. And so they love serving Americans. They'll fight over Americans because most Americans don't speak Spanish, or tourists from China or Japan or from Germany or so. They'll because they don't speak Spanish, so they don't realize it. So they'll tip another 20%. Because I was talking to some folks, and they're like, yeah, they actually found Americans, unlike the stereotype. They said Americans in Costa Rica tip pretty well. So I mean, you're getting a pretty good haul if you get some Americans. I think they didn't like me because, of course, I read that it was included in the tip. And they're like, for being American. Damn, you're Spanish.
Why don't they just do that anyway?
The what?
Why don't they just include it in
I think they should.
I mean, you all would agree with that they should all think.
Sometimes you don't have cash on you, so you like get it out my card, you pay with the card or something like that.
Okay.
There's a Japanese restaurant over by Troop High School that does include it in the tip.
That does. There's a Japanese restaurant that's over by Troop.
Yeah. There's a Gen Express.
Gen Express. Is it good?
It's like probably the most popular one in the Grange.
Really?
But,
It's
yes.
actually really good, it's not that expensive.
Never been. Sushi?
Mhm.
I'm a big wasabi fan. The more paralyzing the spice, the better for me. It's growing up. I mean, I used to freak out people by like eating jalapeno straight. How many of you think that, the reason Barbara Ehrenreich failed was because of the situation that she was in? She just couldn't take it anymore. How many think it's because she went from upper class to lower class and just didn't have enough calluses on the hands, as they say?
It's a little bit of both.
With the movie Jaws, you got soft hands, Mr. Hooper. Do you think that's what it is? Soft hands? You think?
I agree. I think it's a little bit of both because she like set her mind, like she knew that that's what she was going into. So she prepared herself to go into something like less than she had been used to. But at the same time, like it would be horrible circumstances by any standards. Like whether you were used to it or not, it was still terrible.
And then I think there's kind of a part of it, like, at the end of the day, she could just quit it and just not write the article.
Okay.
I mean,
Or just write about that, because she quit and she still got a best-selling book out of
people that
it.
she was working with, like, they were doing it out of necessity. And I mean, like, if she had, I feel like if she
So
really
no
had to do
escape
it out of
hatch.
necessity, she'd find a way to do it. I mean, obviously, other people have.
No special place to go back to.
Yeah, she did, aside from writing a good article, I didn't think she really had that much motivation to do it.
Well, maybe a little bit of personal pride. Yeah, I can do it if I needed to.
But if it fails, like I said, she'd fall back.
In this book that I talked about yesterday up in Athens, It Can't Happen Here, most of the people who really fall in line for Senator Buzz Windrip, the authoritarian leader, he appeals to what's called the forgotten man. And this guy's writing some Americans were sort of getting wind of what Hitler was doing over 3 years when the book was written. But even then, maybe not everyone. I think people back then saw Hitler the way we see Vladimir Putin. Some people, this is even among Republicans, some are like, oh my gosh, this guy's like a megalomaniac dictator and he'd take over Europe if he could. And others like, nah, he could be like a natural ally in the war on terrorism. And he's not so bad, and he's just got some domestic complainers. That's kind of how people saw Hitler back then. But Hitler, when he got in, most people would argue, oh, he appealed to the poorest of the poor. And others, nah, he was totally backed by the rich. Neither are right. His strongest base came from people who were middle class, upper middle class, who got wiped out. Their savings were lost when Germany had hyperinflation. It used to be 1 mark to the dollar. Overnight, it was like 5,000 marks to the dollar. And Germans, if you know anything by nature, is this true, Bruno? Germans are big into saving?
Yeah.
That's like part of the national identity of Germans is to save a lot of money. So when suddenly your savings go from 1 mark to the dollar to 5,000 to the dollar, your savings are gone. That's like your Barbara Ehrenreich safety net, isn't it? And you've been saving all your life. You've been giving up. You've chosen not to spend. If you can remember the Aesop fable about the grasshopper and the ants, the grasshopper's playing around, the ants are like storing up all their food. What if the ants came back and something else ate all their food that they'd stored up for the winter? You'd be pretty ticked off, wouldn't you? Then when the worldwide Great Depression hit, 1 out of every 3 Germans was thrown out of work. Do you think it's tougher for somebody who's been middle class, upper class? You've got a certain comfort. Suddenly, next thing you know, you're thrown into the lowest class.
Yeah, but I still think it comes back to like necessity. Like your back's against the wall, you don't have anything else. You'll find a way to do it.
But you can, and you are correct about that, but can you understand how that's why, maybe that's where some people, where you get this anger. You're looking for a scapegoat. You're looking for somebody to blame for your circumstances.
That's what they blame.
Yeah. The Jewish community, they kind of had some of their, a lot of times they'll have like community banks, like what you see over in Africa today. Some people, they're like, if they distrust the regular banks, they'll kind of have their own banks. So most of the Jewish people kind of saw that there was some reckless government policies, and so pretty much, created their own separate bank. And so many times they were the only ones with money afterwards. Hitler hated Jews, of course, because he tried to get into art school in Vienna, and he was really good at painting landscapes. Wes, you taking me for international politics?
Not
Not
yet.
yet. Okay, yeah, I showed, so you've seen it, right, Julie? You taking me for international politics?
I am
Okay. I showed something about Hitler and Stalin. It's all my international politics classes. And you get to see Hitler was really good at painting landscapes, but he refused to paint people. He never painted a person. So they told him at this exclusive academy in Vienna, they're like, I'm sorry, but you gotta be able to do both to get in. Hitler took it personally because he felt his talent was really, really good. He was able to sell a lot of his landscape paintings. But he was ticked off because many of the professors who turned him down were Jewish.
Yeah, I saw a picture of once. It was like a landscape painting. It was like, beautiful painting, right? Yeah, this was painting by Adolf Hitler. How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you couldn't just paint a picture of a person just
Even in landscapes, he didn't put people.
It's a little cool.
No people. That's it. Not even like, if he had a farm, it was deserted. Isn't that creepy? So, but yeah, people looking to blame. He had a personal axe to grind. It kind of melded together. But of course, once you lock up all the Jewish people, the next phase is you got to find somebody else. You got to find somebody else to pick on because the economy doesn't recover overnight. So you just have a series of, and then those who oppose folks being dragged away, well, you're next on the list. And that's how it works in authoritarian systems, fascist systems. And I wonder if it wouldn't be people like Barbara Ehrenreich who were upper class thrown into an environment they weren't used to. Did you see me? See, I'm middle class here. I only lasted 7 days. I'd run out of money really quick. Many of us would if we didn't have that safety net. How about Gregory Mancios? He talks about how Americans view class. Remember when I was talking about class, the difference between social class and economic class? We're back to economic class right now. He says, according to Mancios, what type of class are Americans willing to recognize? Middle class. Why middle class?
It gives people a middle ground. So you can talk about people being rich and poor. You're talking about like people who have enough to just be comfortable. I guess you don't want to talk about people being rich. You don't talk about people being poor. You talk about like the main.
Okay. You ever hear about studies? This is more like health studies, maybe a little bit of psychology or sociology. You ever come across these studies where they say, when they look at people who are tall, medium, and short, what do they notice? Taller people, what do they tend to do? Slouch a little bit. Why? You're tall. You should be the tallest. You should look down on others. You should look over. Why this?
Trying to be average.
Yeah, trying to be average. You're not trying to show yourself above everyone else. So you tend to slouch. Bruno, you ever slouch?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Do you consciously think, I better not stand out here? Better, you don't want to stick out like the tallest deer in the herd. You want to slouch a little bit. How about shorter people? What do they tend to do?
Try to make yourself look big.
Stand up on tippy toes, wear shoes to make you look taller, wear cowboy boots, maybe, right? Take steps to look tall so you don't seem shorter compared to everyone else. Yeah, that's what he said. So perhaps, now connect this idea about medium-sized people to tall people and short people. Connect that over to economic class, upper, middle, and lower. What do you think is happening?
Wants to be average.
But if you're upper class, why do you want to be average? Why don't you want to lord it over people just a little bit? Well, maybe some upper class people like to lord it over a little bit.
Just don't really want that extra attention.
Why don't you want the extra attention?
It was just normal to you. You don't think nothing about having money.
Normal to you. You don't think people would have incentives to try and look like they have less than they really do?
somebody's like, oh, you got this extra money, you could do something with it, and they really don't want to live with it.
Oh, okay.
Like sometimes then rich people kind of gather around themselves to be more average in their group. You can kind of see often like have rich people communities or something that you're more average in your community, although you're
In America, the story of us, people lighting up $100 bills when they're by themselves, but out in the community, maybe it pays to slouch a little financially. Yeah. Not as much bling. Wanting to fit in, wanting to seem one. Also not wanting to sort of be a target, especially if you have a lot and someone else doesn't have much. How about on the other end of the spectrum, lower class? What do you notice? Okay, yeah, Monsios was mentioning that too. To feel like you're more middle class, people buy stuff. Makes you feel. Anybody? Don't say yourself, but do you ever feel like every so often, you know, you feel like I feel a little better. I'm kind of down in the dumps. I feel a little better if I just bought something. Come on. Okay, you don't have to raise your hand or anything, but you can kind of slowly nod a little.
Depends on what I'm buying.
I had a friend in grad school. I worked to get through graduate school. I worked all day at the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra, and I went to night school to work on my grad degree. So 3 nights a week, 3-hour classes. That's Wednesday night to do your homework and no class on Friday, so that was like the night to celebrate. Although I couldn't, you know, I had to choose whether to go out Friday or Saturday, and certainly had to work a lot on Sunday. But nevertheless, I remember one time I called up a friend of mine. She was in a similar situation. She had to work full time. She was a waitress, and I called her. She's like, "Oh, I'm feeling like really sick. I feel awful and stuff." I said, "Oh man," because the folks over here at the Symphony, they gave me 2 tickets to the opera or something like that with valet parking. Oh, what? Oh, okay, don't worry. I'll be down there in about like half an hour. You know, she's dressed up as much as she possibly can. Feels good to rub elbows with the rich and famous, doesn't it, sometimes? I mean, I had to wear a coat and tie anyway to work, so. Every so often we like to feel like we're doing a little better than we really are, right? Same thing with my then girlfriend, now wife, one time, you know, I called her up, she's like, oh, I got so much, I've just been studying all day, I took a test, I'm just gonna crawl under the covers and go to sleep. And I said, oh, because I worked at USA, they owned the San Antonio Spurs. I said, that sucks, because I have like box seats or so for a game. Really? Box? Okay. I'm down there. And it's funny because they all like Cadillacs and Porsches and stuff going on by, and then they pulled up her little Saturn car, and the guy gets in to park it with all the Clinton Gore stickers and stuff that she had. It was very much like Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. Don't you ever feel like that? You like to feel like you're doing a little better than your personal situation, whether you're buying stuff or whether it's just kind of a special night on the town. You like to feel rich, even just for a short period of time. Do you think middle class plays lottery more than lower class? What do you think? Maybe, you know, even if you know that do you think it's because the board just don't understand that statistically you have a better odds of being killed in a car crash on the way over to buying a lottery ticket than actually winning the lottery?
Always hope
Boy, if I advertised that would hurt Georgia Lottery, wouldn't it? Or do you think, oh, so it's like, you like to feel like you've got some hope, right? It allows you to imagine what would happen if you did win.
All your money is going through.
It's just like it's easy to
You're buying
rationalize.
hope.
It's easy to rationalize. Like, oh, $3, I could win $300 million. Okay. Yeah. Thinking everybody's, because I've heard it with my parents before. Like they talk to somebody, be like, hey, you can buy a lottery ticket. Oh, well, I want to buy a lottery ticket. I've got a better chance of getting hit by lightning. Yeah, but I mean, what if?
Yeah, okay. Maybe I made it a little too personal. I said getting killed in a car crash on the way over versus being struck by lightning. It'd be nice if we had lightning. Maybe a little bit of rain out there. Has anybody got Weather Channel? Is it supposed to rain? Oh, You know it's gonna rain? It's gonna rain when I take my son to our first ever Auburn game. It's gonna be sitting up there, it's gonna be like pouring cold rain, I'll be like craning out the drought in.
I haven't washed my truck in a while, so as soon as I wash it, it'll probably rain.
Oh, okay, please wash your car.
It's been
Wash
like
your
2 months.
truck. I was thinking kind of the same thing too.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I have to wash my.
Why don't we recognize rich? Why don't we recognize poor? How about this? Here's a little exercise in the waning moments. Jot down your 3 favorite TV shows that you like to watch. Just on a scrap sheet of paper or in your notes. You don't have to turn it in or anything. Jot down a favorite show or 2.
1, 2, 3.
Yes, this is a washed out bottle of Coke Zero. They have not made Crystal Coke Zero. I've had to explain. Somebody asked like, what happened to your Coke? I'm over it. And especially, I would recommend for all of you to be a little healthier. This is not like an advertisement. Just seriously get lots of water and refill. When it gets super dry like this, you need to be drinking a lot more than you really are right now. Drink 1 extra one. Seriously, like every time I have I don't drink a cup of coffee unless I can offset it with 1 of these. You want to stay healthy for the final stretch. All right, somebody tell me a favorite show that you like to watch. What you got, Elizabeth? Dexter. That one about serial killer killing serial killers?
I've heard it's a really good show.
I love it.
I've heard
That's
it's
kind of
really good.
macabre.
No, I like that.
Actually, a person who taught American experience with us, she was a sociology professor named Susan Cody, and she now teaches at Georgia Perimeter College, or whatever they called it after consolidation or so. It was funny. She just nice person, covered a lot of interesting things. Her specialty was women in the ministry, but just the biggest horror and slasher film fan ever. Like, doesn't compute. You seem too nice to watch this. She couldn't believe I've never saw Saw 4. I hadn't seen any of the Saws. I don't want to watch some movie about people dying in horrible ways. I see enough of this in international politics when I study it. I don't need to see an extra movie. What else? Wait, well, we'll get to the next one. What else? Toss out them.
How I Met Your Mother.
What?
How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother. Okay, I think I've seen that episode too. Anybody else?
Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy. That tends to be a favorite, isn't it?
That was my favorite.
Maybe that was.
Huh?
Black Mirror.
What's that?
It's a British TV show, but it's like it's like Americans like Twilight Zone. So
Oh, I heard a special. Okay, I didn't know what it was called. Yeah, is it like an Amazon series or something like that? It's not, or Netflix or something. Oh, I heard about it. Yeah, that sounded really impressive. What else?
The Strain.
What?
The Strain.
Is that good? Because it just looks creepy.
It is creepy.
Is that like about a plague going around or something
Yeah,
like that?
it's like a plague, but they're vampires.
They're vampires.
It's not
Oh, it's like true. Okay, my wife was a big true.
It's not like those.
It's not. Oh,
They like actually look creepy and they look nasty and all.
there were a few creepy people I knew.
They're not
Okay. What else you got? Tony, what you got?
Shameless.
Shameless.
It's about a lower class family, and the dad's an alcoholic, and the mom
Oh,
ran out.
okay, I got
It's
you.
the oldest is raising the older sibling.
What you got, Ross?
The Office.
Yeah.
The Office? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen one like Big Brother.
Oh, Big Brother.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that like a reality show where people are spying on each other?
Like they're shot like 24 hours, 7 days. And they're like keeping it like
How about you, Bruno?
I like Game of Thrones and show Vikings.
Game of Thrones? Oh, I love Game of Thrones. What? Not Baywatch?
Like,
No, when I was growing up, Baywatch was like the #1 show in Germany. And Married with Children, believe it or not. When I was a communication major, I did a study on this. Married with Children. Anybody ever seen this show? It's like a sitcom. It was on Fox. I worked for Fox, and so that was one of the 4 shows that we had that was like really successful when Fox started out as the 4th network. And it was #1 in Germany. So then they tried to make a German version of it where they had German actors and actresses playing like the roles, and it bombed totally. And all that I could find in my research was, well, it's they want to make fun of Americans. They don't want to make fun of German. You know, nobody wants to see themselves as doing this sort of thing. How many of your shows have people who are, what do you say the economic class is? Middle class, lower class, or upper class?
All middle class.
They're all middle class. What else? What did you say? Grey's Anatomy, middle class?
I mean, I guess so, the people that they focus on, they're focusing on.
Oh, okay, so they're not focusing on super wealthy surgeons and stuff, like the guy from Doctor Strange. Great movie, by the way.
Mine was family.
Oh, okay, so that's game show. Okay, game shows aside, what's yours, Russ? House of Cards. That's kind of upper class, isn't it? Yeah, some are upper class, some middle class.
The the main character is middle class, but the upper class characters are like the ones that are in on, like they help the bad stuff happen.
Ooh.
Yeah. They're behind a lot of like the vampires and stuff like that.
Sounds like Karl Marx co-produced this. What was yours?
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. What is that? Is it set middle class, lower class, upper class, or does it vary?
It's a certain episode where they try to nurse like a prime minister for into a teenage boy, like a hacker's. So,
Well.
they get raised.
Okay, so you got some. Yours is lower class, Tony?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is it lower class aspiring to middle class?
No.
Or lower class just going to be stuck there? You know, it's interesting because when I first started doing this, it was like most everyone had stuff that was in the middle class, and almost upper and lower were almost not seen at all on television. You know, 80s it was very different. It was like, you know, you had all these soap operas like Dynasty and Dallas and stuff, and so upper class was very much championed. But about the 1990s, everything kind of shifted to middle class, either upper or lower middle class. Just thought you'd find that kind of interesting. Oh, way past time. So Monday.
Yep, middle class Monday.
What do we got on Monday? Do we have a movie like America, the Story of Us on Monday? Sure. Do we? Sure, we might. You're thinking we do, whether we do or not? Can you all promise to watch it?
I can watch it. I'm gonna have class. I'll watch it. I'll watch whatever you want to watch.
Black Mirror? Yeah, but I couldn't remember what this was, but I listened, once you started describing it, I was like, I want to watch it with my daughter who's a big fan of Twilight. So. Wait, do you think it's maybe not for a 13-year-old?
Well, not people. The very first episode, Prime Minister had sex with a pig on live national television.
Okay, good point. All right, we're sticking with Twilight. It's on in 50s TV and censored.
I know, why? To what depths have we fallen?
What kind of
about
swine
that.
would do that? Okay, no
Do
pun
you want
intended.
do you want the princess to be executed?
I think that violates every animal rights rule that I know.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
It's terrible.
Yeah. I heard about that from,
I can see.
I was very excited about that.
Well, I'm sorry about this. You didn't get fired or anything? Good.
No, I didn't get fired.
Good. You don't need a character reference? No, seriously, you don't. Okay, I just did a character reference for one of our graduates and stuff, so I can really do character references. Everything okay?
Yeah, fine, my cat bit me again.
Oh my God, where?
Right there.
Oh,
Oh, no, it went down a lot.
oh my gosh, so it's an angry dog.
Well, she's an outside cat better.
Oh.
Takes on over and she's a main.
Do you have a tick spin?
She's still.
You know, it takes like along the ledge. Oh, okay, good. A lot of things I don't like about dogs and why I prefer cats, but yeah, getting bugs off or taking them to the vet, cats regress to the mean very quickly. So, glad you're a minor with us, by the way. I had somebody else congratulating us for getting you to be with political science.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't remember.
Oh.
There's another faculty member though. I know it was another faculty. I talk with them all the time. I think it was someone else. So, it's not Bobby Jo because I haven't seen her in a while. Anyway, have a good day. How's your day?
So far, so good.
Okay.
It's just getting started.
Yeah, there's always that. Oh, is this still going?